You are listening to KLRN Radio, where liberty and reason still reign.
Most writers and radio show hosts know that to connect with your fans, you need to do more than just write books or record the latest podcasts. There are many different elements that go into forming an online platform, but there are also many hidden traps. To make matters worse, solid advice on how to survive the muddy waters is scarce. In the book Hidden Traps, I talk about some of the important issues of working with an online platform, highlighting traps that could put your physical or internet security at risk, or be harmful to your reputation. Are your social media posts just links with a few disjointed words, making you look like someone who can't complete a sentence? Did your new website cost you more than you anticipated? Are you leaking your personal contact details across the web without even knowing it? Then you need Hidden Traps. Hidden Traps is now available in paperback and ebook from a variety of retailers, including Amazon, Barnes & Noble, and Kobo. Visit blackwolfpublications.com for more details.
If you're 85 or younger, would you like peace of mind and comfort for your family? We're Final Expense Direct with an urgent message for you. The average funeral today costs over $8,000, but the most you'll get from government benefits is $255. How will your family pay the difference? We can help. Our senior plans start as low as just $1 a day and pay up to $30,000 for a funeral and other final expenses. Peace of mind is easy. There's no medical exam. You'll have lifetime coverage, and your plan can't be canceled as long as you pay your premiums. Call now for free information about our senior plans. Answer a few simple questions and receive approval right on the phone. Plus, call right now and we'll give you a discount prescription card for free. Call 800-553-8687. That's 800-553-8687. Again, 800-553-8687.
You're listening to the Spark Radio Network, internet radio like you've never heard before. Innovation, creativity, and imagination are all said to begin with a spark. So fasten your seatbelt and take the ride of your life and listen for the spark.
Game on, where progressives fear us and rhinos tremble. Welcome to the political jungle. I'm JD.
This is Stacy. No one is safe. No one is spared.
Lock up the children.
And the old folk.
Welcome to the world of liberservative conservatarians.
Good Sunday evening, April 7, 2019, otherwise known as 3 a.m., officially the third week after Muller, baby. Welcome back to all of our political geeks, freaks, and back alley sneaks. Everybody right now, get over to Spreaker.com, type in JD and Stacy, get in that chat room, say hello to Stacy. We want to thank KLRN Radio, making us live tonight on Game On. You can find us here every Sunday evening, 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, 5 p.m. Pacific. Live Game On that KLRN Radio. Spotify, you can find us after the show. A couple other things in the works. Tonight, kids, we have a very, very, very special guest, a friend of Stacy and myself, a friend of the show. Document translator by trade, has worked with the Israeli military and intelligence agencies. He will correct me on that if I'm wrong after that, baby. In a few minutes, we're going to bring him live and welcome to the show Mr. Joseph Levine. We're going to spend the first segment talking about the Israeli elections coming up, some politics going on over there. He is going to look inside, take a look at the inside the state of the race here in the U.S., and you know what time it is, baby. It's time to top off that drink, light up that stink, have whatever helps make you think. JD and Stacy taking you through the top of that 9 p.m. Eastern hour here on that KLRN Radio on Game On. How's you, baby?
I'm doing good.
Yeah.
We got summer here now.
We got some what?
We got summer here now. It was 80 degrees today.
Oh, I knew Summer. She had summer teeth. Some were there, some weren't.
I wasn't even a double
Okay, terrific.
entendre, and you still got me.
Oh, we're going to be bringing Joseph in live in a few minutes. Stacey and I want to take this time. Say hello to everybody. And remember, everybody, if you're just joining us, get over to Spreaker.com, type in JD and Stacey. Click on that red live feed, get in that chat room, say hello to Stacey. I hear there's people in there taking their clothes off, dancing on tables. Now, Stacey, before we bring Joseph in, honestly, folks, for those of you who have been friends of the program, were with us in the beginning, through the hiatus, have come back. He really is one of the most informative people we've ever had the pleasure to bring on. We've had politicians, we've had journalists, we've had a lot of big names on the show. The feedback from the audience, if you are new, has consistently over time been, where is Joseph? We need to have the man speak. The ladies just like to hear his voice. The men find it very, very informative. And you know what I'm looking forward to more than anything else in talking to Joseph tonight, Stacey?
What?
Being able to listen to this.
Oh, durka.
Because that will come up at some point in time. So now, without any further ado, we want to thank Mr. Joseph Levine joining us live from Israel at Old Dark 30. How are you, Joseph?
Hey, everyone. I'm doing very well, thank you. How are you?
Welcome back to the program. Oh, I can't believe it. I can't believe it. You know what? Live radio, folks, we're going to have a redo. What I forgot before we bring him in, we actually have the baddest ass theme music around. So everybody make believe he didn't come on. Get together. Get your hands in the air. Get those glow sticks. Get ready to welcome Mr. Joseph Levine. Water and some Molly and some glow sticks, baby. Joseph, why don't you tell them what you said to us before we went on the air about the song?
I'm gonna have somebody follow me around from now on and play that music anytime I walk into a room. That has to be my official introduction music at all times.
It makes me want to go to an Israeli rave.
Yeah, exactly. Somewhere in the middle of the desert, just outside Beersheba somewhere.
Absolutely. So welcome back to the program. Let's catch up a little bit on some personal stuff. I hear there's been a big event in your life, boy chick. Why don't you tell the people?
And I are married, which is very exciting. After 7 years, it was time to, take the next step forward. And,
that's how we felt after Obama. Yeah. So welcome to the program. Why don't you dive right in? I know in the first segment you had some, Israeli elections for those of you who don't pay attention in the States. It's like the new math they try to teach the kids. You got to carry the 5, divide by C, and then go from there. So he's going to give us a little background of what we're about to jump into. So just take it from there.
Yeah, what I wanted to do is just give people, I think, the necessary, the requisite information, because otherwise it's going to be impossible to talk about the details, particularly for Americans, because this is so different, the way that we do things. So here we go from the top. The Israeli parliament, which is called the Knesset, has 120 seats. That's based on an ancient biblical tradition going back, to the 3,000 years ago. But the point is, there's 120 seats. Now, for any given election cycle, there are approximately 15 to 20 political parties vying for some seats in the Knesset. So it's extremely different from the US with its two-party system. 15 to 20 parties that cannot actually be lined up along a left-right liberal-conservative spectrum. Some of these parties have platforms that are entirely foreign by American standards. There's an ultra-Orthodox party, for example, and their main platform issue is that they don't want public transportation on the Sabbath. Mm-hmm. That's their big thing. They don't want buses and trains to operate on the Sabbath.
Wait, are all 15 to 20 of those parties viable per se, or no? Most are outliers, and there's a few that are really front runners.
No, they're all viable, and I'll explain why. The way Israeli law is set up, it's extremely easy to get into the Knesset. All you need in order to gain your first block of seats is 3.5% of the popular vote. So you're only talking about 150,000 votes or so in order to gain a 4-seat block in the Knesset. From there, how many votes you get, what percentage of the popular vote you get will determine how many seats you get. So it's a direct representation. But you do have to cross that 3.5 threshold. But that's only, like I said, it's only about 150,000 seats. So it encourages the creation of new parties. New parties spring up in Israel every year. It's not uncommon. It's very, very expected. Parties will break off of other parties. Parties will start. And because of that, because there are so many seats, it's just about impossible for any one political party to gain majority control over the Knesset. In fact, it's never happened. I mean, it's technically possible, but you would need to get 50% of the popular vote. There's no way that's going to happen in Israel. And so when you hear about parties like Likud, for example, Benjamin Netanyahu's party, which has been the dominant party for over a decade, they only have 30 seats in the Knesset. It's not like they have 61, 62 seats.
Out of how many? Out of how many?
Out of 120. So Likud at its best only has about 25% of the popular vote. The next party down, which is Labor, only has 20 seats. So even the top two parties put together don't actually have majority control over the Knesset. And that's why what would seem to be a rather insignificant outlier, like some party that just wants buses and trains shut down on the Sabbath, can actually get what they want. Because in order to declare control over the government, you have to have 61 seats. Since you're never going to get more than about 30 or 40, what you really need to do is create some sort of a functional coalition government. So first you have the elections, then they tally the votes, determine who got how many seats, and then those groups start to negotiate the formulation of a government. The formulation of a 61 plus unit that votes and functions as a unit, and that's the controlling government. The prime minister is just one of those 120 seats, but it's usually the person in control of the largest voting bloc. So again, Likud gets 30 seats. Netanyahu is at the head of that party. Remember, we don't vote for people. You cannot vote for a person in Israel. You can only vote for a party. When you walk into the booth, I posted that picture on Twitter. When you walk into the booth, there are just paper tickets with the name of a particular party. Who and what happens inside of that party is not really up to you. That's up to Benjamin Netanyahu and the members of the Likud, or Benny Gantz and the members of the Blue and White Party. So once Likud gets its 30, they say, okay, look, these Orthodox Jews over here, they just want the buses shut down on the Sabbath. That's not a big deal. We can do that. Most of the country's shut down anyway. So he goes over to them and he says, listen.
Okay, go ahead. Go ahead. This
you see how it works? He goes over to them and he says, listen, you want the buses shut down on Sabbath? There's no way those guys are going to do it for you. I'm willing to do it for you, but then you join my government. So now his 30 jumps to 37. Then he goes to the next guy over and he says, okay, you had this whole financial plan you wanted to discuss. I'll tell you what, you and your 12 votes come join me. You get to be Minister of Finance. And now his 37 jumps to 49, et cetera, et cetera.
Now, does
what that means
go ahead.
that even if your party doesn't win the largest number of seats, it may be the only party capable of constructing a functional coalition government. And so you can lose and still become prime minister.
And I want Stacey to follow up on this before you answer. But a quick question: does this dovetail with the annexation proposal that it looks like Bibi floated within the last 24 hours? The territories. Oh, okay. So you want to know why? Because that was a question that I had. And to your point, so here we are. And for everybody's edification, the election is coming up within the next 12 or 24 hours. Correct?
Yeah, it's on Tuesday.
Okay, so the election's coming up, and just to the point that Joseph was making, Stacey, I had a piece here that the top line news in the last 24 hours, I don't know if you had seen it, was that Bibi had proposed an annexation, it had to do with settlements and evacuations in the West Bank herding village of Khan al-Hamar. Why don't you pick it up from there, Stacey?
Yeah, no, I had seen that proposal as well. And then I know we have talked in the past We get a lot of polling information from Israel about who's ahead and who may win. And you had given us quite an education in the past about exactly what that information means, which I remember is not a lot.
Right. Polling information is notoriously inaccurate in Israel. It's absolutely horrible. For one thing, because there are so many political parties, it is harder to poll. Secondly, where you poll in Israel makes a very big difference. I can go down to, I mean, that's actually probably true in the United States also, but I can go to Tel Aviv and get a poll that's so skewed to the left that it won't make any sense. And I can go to Ashdod and get a poll so skewed to the right that it won't make any sense. And so how you poll and whom you poll make a difference. But what Bibi is trying to do right now is attract voters, not necessarily to vote for Likud, but to vote for their party of choice that he knows is likely to join with Likud. He doesn't need Likud to get more than about the standard 30 seats that it always gets. He needs other parties likely to cooperate with him to get enough seats that he can get to 61 more easily than his main opponent.
And this goes back to this right here, and this goes back to what we were speaking about before we went live from the Jerusalem Post. I had asked you when we were chatting pre-show. I think that explains, correct me if I'm wrong, where I got confused, and it said Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu began a campaign over the weekend to take seats away from the Likud satellite parties on the right, and then it's comma and the finishing of the sentences in an effort to win more seats for Likud. But to your point, it's okay, so if I know I have these in my back pocket, let me go make nice with people that I'm most likely going to need within the coalition because I'm good on the Likud front, but I'm going to make it blue and white or Bob's and Bob and Moish's.
It's more strategically beneficial for Likud to get 30 and these other satellite parties to get, let's say, 12 and 15 than for Likud to get 40.
And I'm
fine.
I'm sorry. Go ahead.
So I'm fine with my 30 as long as these guys are also strong and we can get to 61 together.
And I want Stacey to pick up with a question here, but when you were speaking about the polling, I wanted to circle back to that. You're a pretty keen political observer, both in your home country and here in the States. And polling in the 2016 election was notoriously bad. And here in the States, I'm going to use a blanket term called conservatives. And people on the right side of the spectrum have gotten to a point. I'm one of them. Well, I would listen. If I knew exactly how I was voting, I do not speak to pollsters. In Israel, is there a segment of the population, to your point about the polls being all over the place, whether they're the Orthodox and the settlement communities, whether they're people who are more politically conservative in more of the secular community? Is it the same dynamic over there where they're not keen on speaking to pollsters in general?
Well, the Orthodox certainly aren't. They don't like speaking to the press in general. Because they feel that they're often misrepresented. The settlers, I don't think they mind speaking to the press, but I don't know that the press loves going out there because, it can be somewhat dangerous going
like
out
West
there.
Virginia.
Not exactly.
I was in West Virginia one time. I thought it was actually very pretty.
On purpose?
But the biggest problem, the biggest reason why the polling is so inaccurate is because studies have shown that most Israelis are undecided even as of election day.
That's crazy. Stacey?
Israelis don't have this sort of devotion to a particular party the way that you see in the United States, where it's Republicans going back 4 generations or whatever. Israelis keep thinking and keep thinking and keep thinking until the moment before they elect, before they vote, and plenty of people show up to the polls undecided. So you're never going to get accurate polling. And by the way, it's illegal to poll in Israel for the 72 hours prior to the election.
It's crazy.
So while the opinions are still being formulated, the polling has already been shut down.
Right. So it looks like the biggest rival to Likud is the Blue and White Party headed by Gantz. Is that
Right,
correct?
exactly. Yeah. Benny Gantz is the former chief of staff. And there's a bizarre phenomenon in Israel in which the farther up the military ladder you climb, the more liberal you become. I'm not quite sure why that happens. I suspect
It's similar here. It's similar here, Joseph. Believe it or not.
I suspect it has to do with seeing too much death and too much war, and hoping to try to find a way to prevent the next war. So someone like Netanyahu, he was a senior officer, but he wasn't a general. This guy was chief of staff, and so as with many at that level of the military, he's somewhat to the left. Now, when I say liberal, I have to be clear. I'm not talking about Bernie Sanders liberal. I'm just talking about left of center, slightly left of center. So what Benny Gantz has going for him is that he does have the reputation of being a successful military general. And the other thing he has going for him is that he has a coalition party with two other very strong politicians.
And Stacey and I are here live with Joseph Levine, joining us from Israel, talking about the Israeli elections here on KLRN Radio, where we're actually going to go a little long. This would normally be where we hit the break. We're going to take a few more minutes before we take that first break segment. But in the 2 minutes or so that we have left before we go to commercial and come back, and feel free, we can flow right back into the Israeli elections. Like I said, this is pretty much, we're handing the reins over to you, so to speak. I want to focus, and I want to stay on this. It was a fascinating thing that you said about as people move higher up in the military echelons or in the class system, as it were, in Israel, they tend to become more liberal. You see that here as well. And I wonder if in addition to what you said, if it's not because in order to get to that echelon, you have to be able, in a long-term career, to be able to tread water in the political stream of different governments and administrations over time. And I think that when you look upstream at that leadership military position, both at the top, that general flag staff, a lot of them have had to go back and get multiple graduate degrees. They go back into the liberalized institutions. And, to some point, you take a guy like Mike Flynn, who brooked nothing from anybody, and, grudgingly rose up the general staff, was grudgingly promoted up the general flag staff chain, and then had a clash with a president. I think that basically what I'm saying is Flynn almost a cautionary tale to those military leaders who don't blow with the political winds of the time, unlike what you and I would think of as a crusty, grizzled military vet. Sure.
Yeah, exactly right. Those crusty, grizzled types are usually colonels. They don't make it all the way up to general.
Kurt Schlichter.
Yeah. Oh, and by the way, you're entirely correct. In Israel, you cannot gain a generalship without an advanced degree. It's by law. So all of these guys have to go back and, like you said, they have to go into that liberal, bubble. I also think it's because they've had to cooperate much more on a military scale with Palestinians. That's another major reason why. Because the PA has its own mechanism for defense as well.
Before we go to commercial, is there anything beyond politics to the mentally unstable charge that's been levied against Gantz, who is Netanyahu's primary challenger?
No, I don't think that's fair at all. I don't think that somebody can be a successful military officer at that level where you're facing real war on a near, let's say every 5 years and be mentally unstable. I think he may have a bad temper, but I think that's a far cry from being mentally unstable. I don't think that's a fair criticism at all.
So it's more domestic politics where it's like, listen, Saul, this guy Gantz,
He's fakakta. I'm telling you, Meshuggah like you never seen it. I tell you, go tell 10 people about it. You can't trust this bastard.
JD and Stacey have Joseph Levine here live from Israel and Game On that KLRN Radio. We want to thank everybody for joining us live here every Sunday, 8 p.m. Eastern, 5 p.m. Pacific. Now, because the show has been doing so well, Stacey and I are going to have to pay a couple of bills. Mr. Levine is going to join us coming through to the other side. Stacey's going to pick back up, finish out Israel, take up U.S. policy and politics. Remember, hide those kids. JD and Stacey coming back in 3 minutes and 30 seconds.
My son was in the Army back during Desert Storm, but even then he wanted an MBA. He looked at a dozen schools, but only one offered the online education and flexibility he needed while he was in a tent in Iraq, Grantham University. Turns out that Grantham's been delivering affordable, relevant college and advanced degrees for over 65 years. Heck, if they can deliver a quality education to a soldier in a tent overseas, think about the flexibility Grantham can offer you so you can earn your degree too. It doesn't matter how complicated or full your life is, if getting a degree is on your bucket list, you'll want to do what my son did. You'll want to call Grantham. Find out how easy it is to get started on your education so you can check that college degree off your bucket list. Call Grantham right now, 800-910-1370. That's 800-910-1370. Flexible, affordable, relevant. Call 800-910-1370.
Tired of paying outrageous prices for Viagra? Well, we have great news for you. Now you can finally get Viagra at huge discounts. Healthy Man allows you to save up to $500 on Viagra. Why pay U.S. pharmacy prices of $15 per pill or more when you can get Viagra for less than $3 a pill? Call today and get 40 Viagra pills for only $99. This can cost as much as $600 at your local pharmacy. You can't afford not to call us. If you want Viagra at the lowest prices, never pay $15 a pill pharmacy prices again. Get Viagra for less than $3 a pill. Call 1-800-516-7602 today and save up to $500 and get 40 pills for just $99. Healthy Man is fast, easy, and affordable. Operators are waiting at 1-800-516-7602 to take your call right now. Call 1-800-516-7602. That's 1-800-516-7602. Again, 1-800-516-7602.
Attention business owners and independent contractors. This is a money-saving message from Tax Mediation Services. If your business owes $20,000 or more in taxes, we can help you today, right now. Listen, dealing with the IRS is no picnic. It's an intimidating and extremely stressful process, and you don't want to go it alone. Our attorneys know every law, every tax break, and every possible opportunity to help you resolve and reduce your tax debt. And if you owe more than $20,000, you may be at the top of their hit list. So don't take your tax debt lightly, because it will not go away on its own. The IRS can seize your bank accounts, your home, and even shut down your business. Call our tax experts today at 1-800-783-0810 and let us deal with the IRS while you focus on your business. That's 1-800-783-0810. Again, that's 800-783-0810.
1880, blind, crippled, and crazy. Getting to your radio, listen to the show with your baby. JD and Stacey here live on Game On KLRN Radio. We want to thank everybody who joins us live Sunday evenings, 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, 5 p.m. Pacific on that KLRN Radio. You can also find us on that Spotify. We want to thank that Ricky Tiki Tavi Rick Robinson of KLRN, everybody in our KLRN Radio family for making this live spot possible for Stacey and myself. In a couple minutes, we're going to bring back over live Mr. Joseph Levine, nice enough to be joining us from Israel, one of the most fascinating, insightful political people, both on that side of the ocean and ours. Everybody right now, get over to Spreaker.com, get in that chat room, click that live link, say hello to Stacey, join the party. I think we have some audience questions we're going to be getting to in a few minutes. And remember, kids, we want to thank you very, very much. We know there are a lot of different ways to entertain yourself on a Sunday evening, and the fact that you choose to do it with us live is always a blessing. Welcome back, everybody, into segment 2 here I think Joseph's got his feet under him, Stacey. I think he might have a future in this business.
Yeah, I think so. Last time we talked about Israeli elections and Obama's meddling and all the kind of nonsense that went around the last time, you said there was no one in Israel that thought Bibi was going to lose. Like, everybody knew it. Even people who didn't want him to be prime minister knew it. It sounds like things are a little bit more up in the air this time.
Yeah, I think so. I think things are a lot more up in the air this time. If first of all, it's not likely that the Likud will get more seats than Blue and White, and so they're going to land with an advantage, and that's in part because these are fairly well-respected politicians. These are pretty serious people, and the other thing is it's very hard to predict voter turnout. Voter turnout is usually somewhere between 60% and 80%. And this particular election cycle, there's a new party which seems to be seeping votes from both sides of the aisle. This party called Zehut, which literally means identity, run by Moshe Feiglin, who is a kind of, I guess you could actually call him a liberaservative. He's like a conservative libertarian. I said that just to make Jason.
Took our word.
Yeah, no, I love conservatarian. I preach it, baby, preach it. Yeah.
Well, he is. He's a libertarian in the classic sense, and so he is fiscally conservative. He is socially liberal, and so he's promoting things like the legalization of marijuana. He's promoting the legalization of gay marriage. He's promoting things like the removal of sort of these monolithic religious institutions that have a lot of control in Israel. And but at the same time, he's also promoting a one-state solution that involves annexing the West Bank. Sounds familiar? Mm-hmm. And that involves annexing the West Bank and creating some sort of a system by which Palestinians who want Israeli citizenship can find a path to citizenship, et cetera, et cetera. And so he's attracting a lot of votes from the center, and it's creating a lot of confusion. On the one hand, he sounds like somebody more likely to cooperate with Likud than with Blue and White, because Blue and White is a very strong two-state solution party. On the other hand, his emphasis on the legalization of marijuana and just pushing Israel toward an even more, personal freedom legal approach is not something that he's going to yield on. And if Blue and White agrees to, let's say, gay marriage and marijuana, he might join their coalition. And so he's creating a lot of chaos, almost in the way that Ross Perot did back in the, whatever year that was, 92 or whatever that
Can
was.
I talk? Can I talk? Can I get a minute? Can I talk? Can I talk? Can I get a minute? Can I get a minute? Can I talk? Can I talk? Can I get a minute? Get a minute? Can I talk? Yeah, Ross Perot.
And the thing about Feiglin, to be very honest, is he's extremely intelligent. He's very well spoken, and he creates this air of sincerity and believability that's superior even to Netanyahu. Netanyahu has a slick politician thing going, which has served him very well, but it sometimes seems too practiced, whereas Feiglin seems very honest, and he's believable, and so he's attracting a lot of younger people, kind of in the same way Bernie Sanders did, by seeming very believable and honest. Mm-hmm. Except that I don't think it's a game. I don't think he's playing. People going back 15 years, this is always the way he's been, and he's always had the same beliefs. So if he manages to get the 7 to 12 seats, but it may even be as many as 15, he's going to be the deciding factor in this election, not Likud or Blue and White. Because whoever gets those 15 votes is going to be the party that crosses 61. Without him, they won't be able to do it.
Right, and so it sounds like the demographic. Stacey, tell me if you agree. It sounds like, and it's not going to be per se that physically the same people, but it sounds like he's appealing to a demographic that's referred to here as soccer moms. And before I toss it over to Stacy, I don't know if either one of you are familiar. One of the best political movies, in my opinion, it was a movie called Primary Colors, which was based off the book of Joel Klein, which was about Clinton's 92 win in the primary and then to become president. And in there is a guy running against him that, to your point, is just who he is. He's just saying it how he feels it, and everybody loves him. And you almost have that with Joe Biden here. And in that movie, and what we're seeing with Joe Biden, and do you expect it with this candidate, people that are that nice or are coming off like that were then just literally destroyed personally.
The problem is that they've tried it, and there's nothing to destroy. His life is an open book. The man has no secrets. I mean, he's been picked apart just like any other politician has been picked apart, but he has nothing to hide. I mean, they've tried it, and there's no extramarital scandal. There's no financial scandal. I mean, he's been in politics for 15 years. He was a member of Likud for years. He was the assistant speaker of the Knesset. He's not an unknown guy. The only thing that's new is the party he created. But in terms of his views on the world, he wrote a book outlining his view of Israeli politics and how things should be. He wrote it a few years back, and he's been 100% consistent throughout. So I don't know how they would destroy him.
Stacey?
I don't think it'll work.
Yeah, I'm thinking he's the millennial candidate. Soccer moms don't really like Bernie. Young kids do.
But no, his point was that he's a nice Bernie, but a less crazy Bernie. Did you want to pick up on anything with that, Stacey? Did they have any audience questions before we moved into the next topic?
We did have one question: whether the members of the Knesset were at all term limited.
No.
No, so they can serve forever.
Yeah, they can serve as long as they as their party chooses. Which is why Netanyahu, for example, has
how do they within the party actually choose? So if you get 27 seats, how do they choose the members of the party that actually get to participate in the parliament?
Okay, so now there are primaries in which you vote within your particular party. So, for example, if I'm a member of Likud, I can vote in the Likud primaries, and what they'll do is they basically organize the members of the party in a top-down manner based on votes. However, it's very important to understand that listing is not binding in any legal way. It's just an understanding, so to speak. We know Bibi Netanyahu is the head of the party, and then numbers 2, 3, 4, 5, etc., are expected to get some kind of major post, whether it's Secretary of Defense or Secretary of the Interior or whatever the case may be. But that doesn't have to happen. There's no law stating that number 2 on Likud's list has to become anything, or even number 1 for that matter.
In reality, Bibi or the head of the Blue and White Party can give those posts away in an effort to build a coalition, correct?
Exactly. When you build a coalition, you go through your negotiations. You have almost a month to do that, and then you present your proposal to the president of the country, who signs off on it, based on certain laws, etc. The president of the country is never a member of the Knesset. He can't run for any other office. And so, yeah, he can give those things away. By the way, you should know that Gantz, one of the agreements he has with one of the other guys on his list, Yair Lapid, is that if they win, Gantz will only serve as prime minister for 2 years and then cede the prime ministership to Yair Lapid.
And how does his popularity square with Gantz's? The same lagging?
Lapid is one of these classic politicians. He's extremely handsome, very well spoken. Everything that comes out of his mouth makes you feel like you need to take a shower. He's a very sort of like
Chuck Schumer.
He's like the Israeli Bill Clinton in every sense of the word. But it works, It worked with Clinton and it works with Lapid. He's definitely a popular guy.
I did not have sexual relations with that woman, Bojik.
Yeah, basically. I mean, his thing hasn't really been the extramarital stuff. It's been the financial stuff. But and by the way, it is worth mentioning that kind of like with Donald Trump right now, Bibi has been under constant investigation over the past 5-6 years, and so that's also weighing on a lot of people's minds. They're concerned that he could be forced to step down because of some sort of an indictment after having been elected. That's also making a lot of people nervous.
Now, I don't know how true it is. I have read it. I'm glad you brought this up. And I've actually before Stacey and I brought the show back, you were the first person we spoke about. I mean, I just couldn't wait for a variety of different reasons to get inside your head and pick your brain a little bit. And so for me, I've literally been waiting, well over a year to ask you this question. Can you compare the way that they're going after Bibi to what is looking more and more like here in the States to have been a complete hit job coup by players in the government? Because I never know what to believe. People that I respect were writing about Israeli law, saying that this indictment is absolutely ridiculous and obscene, and if it wasn't against Bibi, they'd never be able to get it anywhere.
Mm-hmm. I would say that even this Mueller investigation doesn't come close to what's being done with Bibi right now.
Really?
It doesn't even come close. The level of corruption in this investigation is so obscene that it's impossible to believe. The Attorney General, I'm going to call him the Attorney General. It's not exactly the same thing, but our version of the Attorney General has been harassed in synagogue on Sabbath by protesters. I mean, literally breaking into the synagogue on Sabbath with signs to demand an indictment on Bibi. Now, you can only imagine what would happen in the United States if Mueller was in church on a Sunday morning and a bunch of liberals broke in and said, indict Trump now. It would be scandalous even in the minds of many Democrats. That would be considered entirely scandalous. This has been going on for 6 months. The man doesn't have a moment's peace. They're running after him. They follow him everywhere. They don't leave the man alone. And that's just the guy in charge of the investigation. Forget Bibi. There have 7 different investigations over silly things. I mean, really over silly things. The guy got a box of cigars. That's something you're going to investigate. Can you name a politician that hasn't gotten a box of cigars from someone?
Do you Stacey, I want you to jump into the U.S., but we're gonna take this segment about 5 minutes longer before we let Joseph go. Before Stacey jumps in on the U.S. side of it, how is Netanyahu's relationship with Trump viewed by the Israeli population at large?
I would say that Trump in general and his relationship with Bibi is generally viewed very, very positive. There are signs of the two of them shaking hands all over the country. Trump is without a doubt the most popular American president in Israel ever. I've never seen so much positivity about it. And I remember how bad it was 5 or 6 years ago with Obama. And it's a drastic shift in the way Israelis feel about the president. They even said, we don't care about the way he behaves. We don't care about the kinds of things that he says. When you move the offices, of the consulate from Tel Aviv to Jerusalem, when you recognize the Golan Heights, you've won our hearts. And so there is some benefit to Bibi from that. And I don't know that that's necessarily because of Bibi, to be perfectly honest.
Stacey,
that could just be that Trump is extremely pro-Israel regardless.
Stacey, 4 minutes to take this and wrap through the U.S. election.
Sure. I mean, obviously, you guys get our news over here, and we have, shall we say, a couple of problematic members of Congress.
Mm-hmm.
What kind of press does that get in your area of the world?
It really, to be honest with you, it really doesn't get much because it's constantly taking a backseat to Trump. The big news from the United States is Trump is so pro-Israel. Trump did another thing. He did another thing for Israel. He recognized the Golan Heights. He moved the embassy, whatever it is, et cetera, et cetera. Oh, and by the way, there's this one lady in the Congress, and she said something anti-Semitic. And to be perfectly honest, the moment they put a picture of her up on the paper and said this person said something anti-Semitic, nobody in Israel is particularly surprised. I mean, I know how that sounds, and I'm not trying to be, I'm just saying.
No, nobody's surprised. Say it how you feel it. Come on, if you're in a hijab, you're probably not friendly to the Israelis.
Well, the irony of it, I have to tell you, is that you don't actually hear that kind of anti-Semitism from the women in Israel who wear a hijab.
Well,
I mean, I deal with Arabs all the time. And the vast majority of them are not nearly as fixated on Israeli politics as this woman who's supposed to be representing the state of Minnesota or something.
Yeah, and was from Somalia. She wasn't even, she was from an
Sure, but I'm just saying, like, it's funny to me that actual Israeli Arabs living here in Israel rarely express anything even close to the kind. Now, there are some. Obviously, if you go into the Palestinian territories, you get a very different thing. But your typical Arab Israeli is just enjoying living in a country where the economy is doing well and things are relatively safe, and so it seems very odd to a lot of Israelis that this one American congressperson is so fixated on things she seems really to have no bearing or control over. But like I said, that all takes a backseat to Trump. Trump is the big news in Israel these days.
So you guys are looking at 2020 and maybe going, we'd kind of like him reelected?
No, absolutely. I can't imagine. I have not heard, even the far left Israelis that I know cannot deny that everything he's doing is consistent and in line with the general view of Israeli security. The only people who don't like him are people so far to the left that they want to give back the land anyway.
Well, is that like changing up a little bit? I know when we talked a couple of years ago, Bibi was getting very close with Putin and talking to China. Has there been a turn back towards the U.S. with Trump, or are those other relationships being maintained?
Well, I think the relationships are being maintained, but I think the implication is different. You know what I mean? I mean, for example, Putin just assisted Bibi in locating the remains of a soldier that was presumed dead 37 years ago. And there was some sort of a ceremony there in Moscow, and then the remains were brought back to Israel and buried, etc. So it's not as though relations with Russia are changing, but I think the implication that maybe we should just start to look elsewhere for allies, I don't think that implication is there the way it was during the Obama years. I've heard nothing of the sort or read anything of the sort, whereas it was quite common to read that during Obama's 8 years.
Joseph, we had our president, Mr. Donald Trump himself, call in his very busy time to cut a piece just for you and all of your friends in Israel. And he would like to personally say to you and everybody over in Israel.
Don't sit yet. You're going to like this.
Ladies and gentlemen, time goes way too fast. We are way past having to go into the third break. We want to thank from the bottom of our very cold, dead black hearts, Stacey and I, Mr. Joseph Levine joining us live here on Game On KLRN Radio. We hope now that the show's back up and going, Joseph, we really hope this will be your first return out of many. And we honestly, let's go back to what we were talking that last time around. Let's get you getting your own show, baby, and dropping it here in our KLRN Radio, because every time you're on, the feedback is just phenomenal. Stacey, say goodnight to the good man.
Good night, Joseph.
Good night. Thank you so much. This was a real pleasure.
No problem. But listen, if we brought him in that way, folks, we got to take him out that way. Mr. Joseph Levine. You can find him on the Twitter at that Rabbi, RABBI 224.
Tired of paying outrageous prices for Viagra? Well, we have great news for you. Now you can finally get Viagra at huge discounts. Healthy Man allows you to save up to $500 on Viagra. Why pay U.S. pharmacy prices of $15 per pill or more when you can get Viagra for less than $3 a pill? Call today and get 40 Viagra pills for only $99. This can cost as much as $600 at your local pharmacy. You can't afford not to call us. If you want Viagra at the lowest prices, never pay $15 $3 a pill pharmacy prices again. Get Viagra for less than $3 a pill. Call 1-800-516-7602 today and save up to $500 and get 40 pills for just $99. Healthy Man is fast, easy, and affordable. Operators are waiting at 1-800-516-7602 to take your call right now. Call 1-800-516-7602. That's 1-800-516-7602. Again, 1-800-516-7602.
Attention business owners and independent contractors. This is a money-saving message from Tax Mediation Services. If your business owes $20,000 or more in taxes, we can help you today, right now. Listen, dealing with the IRS is no picnic. It's an intimidating and extremely stressful process, and you don't want to go it alone. Our attorneys know every law, every tax break, and every possible opportunity to help you resolve and reduce your tax debt. And if you owe more than $20,000, you may be at the top of their hit list. So don't take your tax debt lightly, because it will not go away on its own. The IRS can seize your bank accounts, your home, and even shut down your business. Call our tax experts today at 1-800-783-0810 and let us deal with the IRS while you focus on your business. That's 1-800-783-0810. Again, that's 800-783-0810.
Whether we realize it or not, everyone has been impacted by addiction. We all have family members, we all have friends that have faced this demon. But there's hope. There's hope in recovery. There's hope when we work together to rise above the plight of addiction. I'd like you to join Mac Mullings every Saturday from 2 to 4 p.m. on Rise Above Radio on KOKC 1520 AM, where they talk about the hope that is available to all of us.
Welcome back, all you political freaks, geeks, and back alley sneaks. Everybody right now, get over to Spreaker.com. JD and Stacy, get in that chat room. Say hello to Stacy. Join the conversation. We'd like to thank KLRN Radio for letting us take you through the top of the 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Hour here live every Sunday on KLRN. You can also find us on that Spotify, baby. You can find us on Spreaker as well. A few more announcements coming up to be had. We want to thank that Ricky Tiki Tavi, Rick Robinson, the rest of the KLRN Radio family. And more importantly than anything else, we'd like to thank again Mr. Joseph Levine, one of the most fascinating, informative, and just all-around good people that we've had the ability to have on as a guest. You know, the show is usually pretty light and funny, and we got the Durka and the this and the that, and everybody's laughing and having a good time. Things like shows like tonight are just invaluable, and it makes me realize how lucky we are, Stacey, that we have not been back relatively that long doing live radio, and we have the ability to bring a guest like that to our listeners. I hope I was very serious in what I said. I really hope that is just one of many more segments to come with Joseph Levine, and maybe we can talk him into a show. Welcome back, baby.
Yeah, maybe we can talk him into a show, and certainly anytime something figuratively or literally blows up in the Middle East, he's the first person we call.
Oh, yes.
Oh,
yeah.
Durka.
Where was my Durka explosion? Hold on a second. I forgot I used to do the explosion. Oh, here it is. I forgot this was a two-part process. It used to be. Come on, damn it. Come on.
Oh, Durka.
Okay, terrific.
But no, I'd really like to bring him back and pick his brain on some of the news we're getting on our end about the Qatari government and how they're definitely in our...
You want to know what? We should talk to him. Actually, you want to know what? That's a really good idea. I will tell you what. He has the ability to turn me into Forrest Gump. Like, you know, we've been doing the show. We've had great feedback. The numbers have been fantastic. And then, you know, you have somebody as smart as Joseph on, and he just sits there and drops the knowledge. And I'm just like... Thank you, Jenny. I am not a smart man, but I know where Israel is.
I can find it on a map.
Yes, the place surrounded by all the. Don't even get me. I can't. Okay, listen. 2 minutes. Unplanned, and a guy gets shot by a cockroach. So go. 60 seconds.
I saw the Unplanned movie. I think we need to support those types of things out in the world when they actually get into movie theaters. And I think you should go see it because no matter what your position on the issue, you will come away with it. You will come away from it with something. What would be the and you want to know? I'll tell you what. And from what I've read on a cultural side from that, you know, the more that they, and this doesn't just go for that movie, folks. This goes to everything. It's a reason we do the show. It's a reason that we're happy that you listen. The more you try to suppress things, the more you try to deplatform it, the more you try to silence it, you're just going to make it that more desirable for people to hear. So the fact that conservatives have had all these issues, that you stick around and you find us from place to place is extremely we're extremely grateful for that. What's the best sound effect to lead up into our cockroach story? I can't even. Let's see. What do you think? What is cockroach friendly here? Something that calls somebody stupid.
Here we go. So a guy in Michigan ran into a cockroach who literally said this to him.
I'm the boss. How about that?
All right, so the headline from all the stories out in Detroit and Michigan: man gets shot throwing shoe at cockroach. If this jerk-off does it, the only way this guy's not going to win the Darwin Awards if they give it to somebody who actually offed themselves. So Moron Joe over in Michigan has cucarachas running around the house, and he's had it, and he takes a shoe and he throws it at the cucaracha because that's how he figured he'd kill the cucaracha. Well, the only problem was this moron had a revolver in there. It fell out of his shoe, missed the cockroach, and shot him in the foot. But anyway, baby, the fastest hour in conservative radio has just wrapped up. We want to thank Mr. Joseph Levine. I got to ask my beautiful and brilliant co-host, do you have those keys?
I got the keys.
All right, let's warm this baby up and get out of here. Tell the nice people what you do and where they can find you.
You can find me at Scott's Fire, SCOTSFYRE on Twitter. My Facebook page is simply Stacey Lennox, and I'm still writing at The Resurgent. They haven't made me stop yet, and I'm just digging further and further into the crazy on the left.
Read her stuff, kids. It's really good. I can be found on bar stools, alleyways, seedy situations. I think I'll vest up. If I live through it, I'll see you next week.
I'm looking for you, you Occupy freaks with your glitter bombs. Bring it on! Bring on the glitter. Everything has changed. Everything has changed in the last few years. Conservatives used to take it, and we're not taking it anymore.
KLRN Radio has advertising rates available. We have rates to fit almost any budget. Contact us at advertising@klrnradio.com.
Everyone loves liberty. Our rights come from God, not the government. So why are you letting other people tell you what's best for your health care? Exercise your freedom with Liberty Health Share. Liberty Health Share is a community of people who voluntarily share one another's medical costs. Liberty Health Share is founded on the idea that most people truly want to help one another. Healthcare sharing allows members to do just that as a true community that supports one another in times of need. Liberty believes people should make decisions for themselves and their families. Members are able to take back the freedom to make their own decisions about their health care. Freedom from guilt or doubt about how your money is used. You have the freedom to direct your health care, not to be dictated to by bureaucrats. Stop letting others tell you what to do and join a community of like-minded people. Exercise your freedom. Join Liberty Health Share and take back the control of your health care while helping those around you. Call Liberty at 855-58-LIBERTY. Again, that's 855-58-LIBERTY for more information, or you can check them out at libertyhealthshare.org. Again, that's libertyhealthshare.org.
Here's George Foreman with InventHelp.
Hi, I'm George Foreman. Do you have an idea for a new product or invention? People ask me all the time, George, how do I get my idea in front of companies? How do I get a patent? What do I do next? Do you have the same questions? I'll tell you like I'll tell them all. Call my friends at InventHelp.
Call InventHelp today for free information. InventHelp has been helping inventors for more than 30 years and has sales offices nationwide. InventHelp can submit your invention to companies who are interested in receiving new ideas. If you have an idea and want to try to patent it and submit it to companies, you should call InventHelp today for free information.
Listen, I can't guarantee a company will be interested in your idea, but I believe every inventor deserves the opportunity to step into the ring and take their best shot. Put InventHelp in your corner.
Get your free inventor's information. Call 1-800-353-6490. That's 1-800-353-6490. Again, 1-800-353-6490.
At St. Jude, a family never sees a bill at all. It's like the world has been lifted off of your shoulders.
St. Jude Children's Research Hospital. Finding cures, saving children. Learn more at stjude.org.